In this update, we've got three main weather stories. First, we have a developing hurricane down there into the Caribbean, and that could turn out to be a very intense hurricane. And then further north, back into Texas as well as into Oklahoma, we had some storms overnight that left a lot of lightning and very heavy rain through Texas and Oklahoma. And then it kind of reloads as we head into tonight as well, with a renewed severe threat and more heavy rain, and this could be a flash flooding type setup. And then off to the northwest, we have yet another complex that's going to be pounding the northwest coast. That's going to bring some high winds and some heavier rains and then some mountain snows inland. So let's first take you down here into the tropics. There is tropical storm Melissa down there, and yeah, it's still a tropical storm, folks. It's literally just been kind of sitting there, even stationary, moving 1 to 2 miles an hour. It's just basically trapped right now because you have a higher pressure system further to the north, and underneath it you've got this developing storm. So it's drifting westbound and is going to go into a much more favorable environment. In fact, here's the latest update from the National Hurricane Center. You can see the crawl. That's basically what's been Melissa so far. And now I think by the time we head into tomorrow, especially into late weekend, this thing is really going to be ramping up quickly and going to be, developing into a hurricane, turn into a major hurricane there in about hour 60. But look at this, folks. It just kind of drifts westbound and even gets stronger, possibly intensifying to a category 4 hurricane, 144 miles an hour. But look where Jamaica is at, folks. This is almost like worst case scenario. This is hour 60 and an hour 140. That's a 80 hours, nearly 3.5 days of, yes, that would be a major hurricane pounding Jamaica, and very intense winds, as well as all the heavy prolific flooding that could unfold across the island as well. I mean, look at some of these rainfall totals over the next 5 to 6 days, with just the slow moving nature and the path that National Hurricane Center has it right now keeps it offshore. And that's almost even worse because there's not any weakening with the storm, and it's going to be spreading its moisture inland. And so you could be looking at a very prolonged wind threat and heavy rain threat. We're talking devastating landslides across that region. It does not look good at any stretch of the imagination for Jamaica, as we'll finally move further north, but that's not until Wednesday, even into Thursday of next week. But right now, for later on tonight, we've got a renewed severe threat. So as the atmosphere kind of reloads today and going into tonight, this main storm complex could produce several tornadoes down there into the hill country. And then further off into West Texas, we do have an elevated risk for tornadic activity in the overnight hours. The further north, highlighted in the green, is more of a marginal risk. As you swing further north into Dallas, those areas, and across Lubbock and getting further north than that. And then as we swing into tomorrow, that severe threat shifts further southeast. So now we're talking areas back into the Houston metroplex and going into southeast Texas, getting into much of Louisiana, and it's still going to be a heavy rain threat. So this is a 2-day event that is coming up, which really kind of started off last night. And here's where we have the Weather Prediction Center is highlighting a massive area of a slight risk for excessive rainfall, if not flooding rainfall. We do have a flood watch highlighted across this region. So we're talking areas from Tulsa to Oklahoma City to Dallas to all the way further south into Waco, Austin, San Antonio. All those areas look to get impacted with very heavy rain starting off tonight, likely past that 9 o'clock time frame into the overnight wee hours of the morning. And that will just shift further east as we head into your Saturday time frame. It's still impacting portions of Dallas, but mainly going to be impacting East Texas, Southeast Texas, getting into Louisiana, back in through the Arklatex into Arkansas. And at the same time, we'll be watching our Pacific storm system that will be coming inland, bringing all those heavy winds and some very intense heavy rain. And then that will spread colder air eventually and bring some of those mountain snows back as well. So over a 2-day event, you can see most of the action is around 2 areas, right? Around Texas and Oklahoma, portions of Kansas, getting into Arkansas, into Louisiana. This is over a 48-hour time span. Some of these could be heavy, so I am expecting some isolated flash flood warnings into the overnight hours as the very heavy rain looks to unload across this region. And then we have the Pacific storm system that will also bring heavy rain along the coast of Washington and Oregon, as well as into the Northern California area. That will push inland. And eventually some of this, at least in the higher elevations, will transfer to mostly snow. We're talking above 5,000 feet, if not even higher than that. So it's all complements of this jet stream, this jet extension that's pulling in this conveyor belt of moisture from the Pacific and dumping it inland. So that comes on shore today, and it really amplifies as we head into Saturday and Sunday timeframe with the relentless moisture stream. So it's likely a 4-day type setup for them, pounding the coast and then bringing that moisture inland. And eventually that will bring some of the cooler air coming down, as it'll bring a trough down. So this is your upper level, this is your 500 millibar height. So you got this little cooler pocket aloft as the storms kind of move out on Sunday, moving into the southeast. That will be feeling the effects of this trough that's coming in, complements of that jet stream. That will finally look where Melissa is. It is basically still down there south of Jamaica. It really doesn't move at all whatsoever. In fact, it just intensifies. It's really the only thing it does. Over the next several days, it's waiting for this trough to come in before it can kick itself out. But that won't be until the middle of next week, because if you see on the surface map, we've got that area of low pressure just kind of deepening down there into south of Jamaica. And then the storms will be ending across the middle part of the country, Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas. They will be highlighted on Sunday across Mississippi, back into Alabama, Tennessee, those areas into Kentucky, while we're dealing with the Pacific storm system and the snows in the higher elevations. And that will continue on Monday as the storm system will be pushed further east. Now we're talking areas across the Carolinas, back into Florida, while yes, Melissa still further south into Jamaica, really doesn't move very much. And then the mountain snows continue for the Intermountain West. But look what happens on the latest Euro. So the guidance from the NHC puts it just off to the western areas of the island. The latest Euro run actually puts it right over the island. Either way, it's not a pretty scenario. Either way you look at this, it could be a major hurricane making landfall in Jamaica. That's on Wednesday. So this is only Friday. And it's only like 160 miles away right now from Kingston. So that kind of shows you it really doesn't move that much, guys. Over a 5-day span, it's going to move about 160 miles. That is nothing, right? That's nothing. And then if it does take this path, we're talking devastating flooding. This will be a prolonged event. I mean, 3 or 4 days of potential very high winds, if not hurricane force winds. I mean, this is, yeah, it's not going to be pretty, folks. This is definitely not going to be pretty. But it's really not until as we head into that Wednesday timeframe, as it's hitting Jamaica, it's finally going to feel the effects of this trough that will be diving into the southeast, pulling in some of that colder air that's coming in from the northwest right now. So that will be the culprit that's finally going to be able to lift up Melissa and drag it out into the open waters. and that will be replaced by much cooler temperatures across the middle part of the country and much of the southeast as we end the month of October. So here's the 29th. You're going to be really feeling the effects. This is almost like a fall-like front for many of you guys, with dry air comes on the backside, lower humidity, and the coolest highs we've seen so far this fall for a good part of the south as well as in the southeast. That's on Wednesday, and of course it extends into Thursday. This would be your Halloween coming up on Friday. This would be next Friday, as the cold air will sink all the way down into Florida, or at least much cooler air than what you've seen as of late. So we've got at least several days on the table of really pleasant, like fall-like temperatures, and you're definitely going to feel this one considering how warm we've been in the month of October. But we also have the rain to deal with before all that happens. So we could be looking at some more heavy rain, multi-inch totals across a good chunk of Texas. I mean, they actually need this rain, so it's not the worst thing to be able to get these impressive rainfall totals. It's been very dry this last month or two across Oklahoma, and that will extend into Louisiana, back into Arkansas. A little bit lighter amounts as you shift further off into the southeast, but still pretty decent. A couple of inches over the next 5 days across this region, all the way from, east of the Continental Divide. The southwest stays dry, and of course the northwest will be dealing with their own system. For them, that will be starting on really later on today, going into that Monday time frame. So guys, I appreciate you watching. Do like this video, definitely hit the subscribe button, and catch my next update, why I protect you before and after the storm.